Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to your Daily Penguin. This is a slow waddle through every penguin that I've ever had, every penguin that I've ever owned, every penguin that I've ever sold or whatnot. And we are right where we should be when we're talking about classic books. Well, the most classic books of all kind is philosophy, dude. That's the only thing worth reading, right? Because no women. And we are still reading Kierkegaard, who is amazingly entertaining to read, which sets him apart from philosophers. He is amazingly entertaining to read. And today we are reading another one of his famous works. This is Fear and Trembling. And this is odd in a lot of ways. This is, on one level, an exegesis about the story of Abraham and Isaac from the Old Testament, where Abraham and his wife go forever and ever. His wife Sarai, who becomes Sarah, they go forever and ever. They go for decades and decades and decades and decades without a son. And then God comes and to them, an angel of the Lord comes to them and says that they will have a son, even though Sarah is long past childbearing age. Sarah laughs. She's one of the only characters in the whole Bible who laughs. But it turns out to be true. And she has a child, and that child is Isaac, and he is the joy of his parents. And when he is older, sort of a young, super hotty teenager, God tells Abraham to bring Isaac to a place of ritual sacrifice, a journey from his home, and sacrifice him to the Lord. Bring him to the altar, bind him on the altar, and slit his throat, and then burn the body as an offering to God. And Abraham agrees and brings Isaac. Isaac wonders, shouldn't we be bringing sacrificial animals? Isaac might be cute, but he's not all that swift on the uptake. And they get to the sacrifice place, and Abraham binds his son and raises the knife. And only at the last minute does an angel of the Lord say, all right, that's enough. You don't have to do it. Psych. Over there in that bush, you'll see that a ram has tangled its horns and cannot move. You can sacrifice that ram instead. You don't have to sacrifice your son. And Abraham rejoices and kills the ram that never did any harm to him whatsoever. Because this God who is up in the sky, he's not in another dimension, he's up there, can smell the burning food, the burning meat, and likes the blood sacrifice. Because that's exactly what an omnipotent, otherworldly being would want. The story of Abraham and Isaac has been exegeted to death. To death. Old Testament scholars, Talmudic scholars, New Testament scholars, every Christian, everyone associated with Old or New Testament writing has to deal with this story. And they all feel like they have to, and they all do. And why? Because the story is irretrievably monstrous. Not on one interpretation. The story is irretrievably monstrous. There is no way to get around it. There is no way to interpret your way out of that. A very wise woman told me that her interpretation was that Abraham was an excellent servant of God, but a terrible father. I've heard interpretations the other way. None of it works. None of it works. It is an irretrievably monstrous story. It does not have a positive parable. Either God wanted to test Abraham's faith, and if Abraham had been completely faithful, it doesn't work. No, I almost went down the road of exegesis. It doesn't work. If God means it, then Abraham kills his only son. If God doesn't mean it, then God wanted Abraham to think that that's what he wanted, and wanted Abraham to show that he was willing to do that. In either case, regardless of what it says about Abraham, it says only monstrous things about God. Only. Period. And yet, if you are raised in a Jewish or a Christian tradition, you absolutely have to do something with this thing. You have to. You have to get around it somehow. It's even more pointed than the story of Noah's Ark, in which the Lord, the all-powerful God of the universe, looks upon the earth and finds that it has become wicked. He didn't know this? He isn't all-knowing? He's surprised to find that the world has become wicked, that the generation of Noah has become wicked, and that only Noah and his family are good. So he kills everything alive in the world except Noah and his family and a minuscule representative, 2 by 2 of every animal, 7 of every game, of every livestock animal. And the billions of bugs who never committed a sin, the billions of freshwater fish who never committed a sin, aren't even able to sin, the millions and millions of elephants and antelopes and polar bears and sloths, all dead. All dead. All the babies, all the infants, all the fetuses, all dead. That's a huge thing. There is no positive way to spin that myth. But this is more pointed. This is a father with a knife to the throat of his son. And it causes these convulsions of exegetical fervor on the part of everyone who's connected with Christianity. And so Kierkegaard. And that's what this book is about. It's a long and very eloquent attempt to exegete this story. And an analysis of it, an analysis of what it means. But like other things that we've seen by this author, it is cannier than that, because it's someone else doing the exegesis. It's not Kierkegaard himself. It's Johann. It's old Johann who is doing the exegeting in the book, mostly, on and off. Enough so that there are all kinds of narrative 3-card Monte games, and you don't know whether or not to pin any of the sentiments in here on Kierkegaard himself. That makes it fascinating. And the exegesis is fascinating anyway. I have read a million attempts to make sense, moral sense of this. The simple truth of this story is that humans are morally superior to any gods they've ever invented. And humans hate that idea. I don't know why, but they do. They hate that idea. So if you're not going to deal with that simple truth, then you've got to come up with some other Prestel-twisted way of making sense of this thing. And that's what this book does. And like everything else, almost everything else that Kierkegaard wrote, it's endlessly fascinating to read, just endlessly so. And also fascinating to consider. I think this is the same translator. And I think Hannay, Hannay, I think he did the translating of all of Kierkegaard for Penguin. I think they've kept his translations and not moved to anybody else. But I could be wrong about the details. There might be minor works that he isn't the translator. But like in the couple of other things that we've read, the key fun here is the narrative stuff, the stuff that makes me think Kierkegaard would have had a very satisfying life as a novelist. You can enjoy this book on that ground without really putting yourself through the grist mill of trying to make this horrifying story come out right. There's no way to make this horrifying story come out right. But anyway, that is your Daily Penguin for today. More Kierkegaard, dude. So I'll wrap this up, and I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.